The Canadian Bitcoiners podcast is just two guys and maybe a guest or two discussing Bitcoin, Bitcoin equities, and the related macroeconomic space. It's not meant to be financial advice, so please, if you're doing any investing after listening to our program, do your own research, do your own due diligence, and understand that any money you invest can be lost. The show is meant for entertainment purposes only, and we hope you enjoy the program.
Let's do it. Keep going. 38 minutes. This is great.
The Canada Day special.
Listen, I'm not doing anything fun tonight. I'll probably walk my dog after this, edit the show, and play Elden Ring, which is another way of just saying, trying to traverse the mist over and over again, just fucking dying. So
we're going to watch the fireworks because they do it in a boat nearby here.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Yeah, so we walk down and
next week on Notable North, boat on fire due to fireworks. Here's the video.
There may be a reason. Let's talk about that. Let's lead off with. I was going to lead off with a debate. What happened in the United States, obviously, the Trump. But let's talk about what's going on in Chicago, because you talked about the fire. Chicago firefighters, they had enough over there because of the lack of ambulances and paramedics that are able to serve the city. And as a result, they're going to be staging a protest at the upcoming NASCAR street event and also at the DNC. It's taking place nearby there. In 2023,
DNC's
it was reported,
in Chicago?
I believe so.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. That's insane.
So if anyone's looking for makeup, it's going to probably cost a premium at that particular moment. Either way, 2023, it's reported that paramedics worked nearly 230,000 hours of overtime. And that was able to staff the city's 80 ambulances. And they're on the same pace for 2024 to work another 230,000 hours of overtime. So the policy over there states that if no ambulance is available, they dispatch a fire truck because they have a paramedic on about half of the fire trucks over there. But you can see how this shit trickles down. So once they run out of paramedics, ambulances to send out, they have to then call fire, and then they're not able then to deal with fires, right? So the shit just trickles downstream. But not just that. Another thing that was just noted this past week in Chicago, if you call 911 for police to be dispatched, you have slightly better odds of 50-50 that somebody's going to be coming. And in fact, the statistics show the highest percentage of the police coming in will be for violation of court protection orders. 59% police will show up. But if you call for person shot, 57% a cop's going to show up. 57% for a person shot. Person stabbed, 52%. Right? Like, person with a gun, 55%. Person with a knife, 51%. Like, fuck, you
know what the answer is, Len? Send out the social workers. Let's get the social workers heading out there. 100% response rate, 0% success rate.
Fuck. Like, that's how bad it is over there. Like, if you're calling for police, you're
oh
basically
my God.
Flipping a coin in this case. Fuck. That's how bad it is over there. So police, fire, paramedics, all overworked, and it's understaffed.
If I lived in the States, I would have a gun on me at all times. 100%.
Is it a right to carry?
I mean, I don't know if it is or not, but I'd have one anyway, because the guy who shoots you is going to have one. So,
maybe not the right to carry, but he'll certainly carry it without.
In Canada, man, like, it's insane to me that we don't have that right here. You need it more and more in so many different places. Hamilton has had, I think, 2 shootings in the last 2 weeks. We used to have like 20 shootings a year, and now we're up at like 50, 60, 70 a year, and increasing. You can make it that what you will. I'm sure there's things we could talk about that will get us all canceled, but there's clearly, I think, a shift in what people view as acceptable behavior in altercations, and Chicago's sort of patient zero for all this stuff. All these shit policies. They had a shit mayor for 20 years. They got a shit mayor now. DNC, perfect place for it. Let's see how well things are going on the backs of our brainless policy decisions and policy positions over the last 20 years. Chicago's a great example. Man, I can't believe that 50%. If you get stabbed, someone will come to you. So what do? Like, do I have to carry a tourniquet? Like what? This is what I don't understand. Like, what are we talking about here? And then they wonder why. Like, this is the thing. It's like a negative flywheel, right? Like, the mayor will get on there, this guy, when he's done his $20,000 worth of makeup and hair, he'll get up there and say, like, no, we need to, come together as a community. My brother in Christ, the reason people are shooting each other is because if they don't solve the altercation, there's only a 50% chance that the guy who comes is even going to show, or the guy they call is even going to show up. So they got to shoot first. And then, you know, they deal with the consequences later, of which, by the way, there are very few. So like, why wouldn't you shoot first? This is the incentive structure. It's amazing to me. I look forward to the Chicago stealing traffic light story coming up next year on CBP 2025.
I think it's going to be next year.
Yeah.
I think it's
we're already halfway through this year. I say next year. Hard to steal traffic lights in the winter. So really, they only have like 3 more months to steal traffic lights. Then it becomes too cold. So I think then the 2025 breaking news story will be the traffic lights at Chicago.
We're looking at the spring or summer of 2025.
Yeah, I think that's the right move. Yeah, we gotta get that on FanDuel. This show is sponsored by FanDuel, where you can bet on the number of fire hydrants stolen every day in Chicago.
That's another good one in California. Let's talk about the debate, the Trump versus Biden debate, because that was just insane. It was certainly noteworthy, and a lot of people tuned in. And Biden was, I don't know what happened to him in the past few months, because you
don't know what happened to him? Len, he had a cold since January. Didn't you hear his campaign? He came down with a cold. They didn't say he had it since fucking January 2016 or 2020, whenever he got elected.
It's just, you know, that State of the Union, I'm not sure how many months ago that was, but it was certainly this year. And he was...
It was in February.
And I don't know. Yeah. So 4 months ago, granted, a lot could happen in that amount of time, but still, whatever they was able to get at that particular moment, did they copy it this time around? Was it not enough?
They didn't give him anything this time.
If they give, it was, you know, at least a coffee. Like, come on, be reasonable here. And he was rambling on, and sometimes it was incoherent and just made so.
How much of the debate did you watch? You watch all of it?
The whole thing.
Yeah,
the whole thing. Yeah,
it's funny. Len and I are supposed to record this other podcast, Access of Easy, that we do for Mark and Easy DNS. Usually we do it Thursday night, and I was out last Thursday visiting a friend who just had a kid. We were at a barbecue, and so I was late getting home, and I said to Len, "You want to record it?" He goes, "No, I'm settling in now with family stuff." I get home, me and Len are in a couple group chats together. He's watching the debate. The debate was like must see TV. Once someone in your friend group told you. Because once someone in your friend group told you what was going on, oh, really? You guys are all watching it together?
That's our family stuff. We were enjoying it.
Incredible. Yeah. Like I was, Len, some of the stuff in that debate, I was fucking dying. Like he landed, the golf was, I was cackling. I was just in complete disbelief by that point. What is going on this debate stage? What is going on?
You know, that triggered
talking about handicap. So I know you're about to say trigger Trump. Did you watch?
Yeah.
So did you watch? There's a clip of that part compared to all the other negative stuff Biden said. Trump will just like look over and give him a bit of a scowl. When he said the thing about the handicap, Trump just goes like this. He just fades off the fucking screen. That's the biggest lie.
That's a passion for me.
I've seen your swing. I know I've seen your swing. I know you're swinging.
He loves to play golf, but in Biden's defense, I'm going to give him some credit here. He did say when he was the vice president, he was a 6 or 8 handicap.
Do you believe that?
Potential.
Where's he playing from? Where's he playing from? The ladies' tees? That guy's fucking 75 years old. There's no way.
That we're talking 2008.
He was 75. He's 81 now. I'm pretty sure.
No,
82 now. He would finish his next term at 86.
Okay, but now
he was vice president in 2016.
He's in his late 60s when 2008.
That was 16 years ago.
Yeah, he's in his late 60s.
Okay, maybe we got to get him to verify what year. But so I mean, come on, Len. Do you really think?
And I've played enough golf out there, and I could see people easily in their 60s be under 10 handicap, depending on how much. So I don't know. So I'm going to give him the leeway here. Now, no fucking way. The way I see, you can't ride a bike across the street.
No,
there's no way. I think I could probably out hit him. I would.
Buddy, how about
can we talk? I will have a better score than him.
Can we talk a bit about his wife? Should we talk about his wife?
When she let him off, or more than just that?
She's the devil. She's the devil. And
no, that's
yeah. Well, I don't care. I'm saying it. She's the devil, and she is a bad actor who should be looked at for her role in this debacle about this guy's decline in faculties. She is rah-rahing at post-debate addresses. You answered every question. He's not in fucking kindergarten. He's the fucking president, moron. Okay, number one. She made a huge stink about being referred to as a doctor. She has a doctor in education. You can get one of those from the University of fucking Phoenix, okay? Get lost with that. That's a nonsense fucking thing. Only academia would care to refer to you as a doctor, and even then, a bunch of them wouldn't give a shit and would tell you to get fucked, okay? Number 2. Number 3, this idea that her and Hunter Biden are telling this guy that he has to stay in the race. I don't know, Len. It seems like weird timing, and she's on the cover of Vogue fucking magazine today. Did you see that?
No.
Lady Macbeth. Dave Sachs talking about it.
Pre-planned, because to get on Vogue, you probably had to shoot that weeks, if not months ago.
The point is that it speaks to her motives, I think. And she's kind of been in the background for a lot of this stuff. You don't hear a lot from Jill Biden. She did The View a little while ago before the debate and was like, we're going to find out how smart Joe is, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, now the establishment media in the States is being forced to pretend they didn't notice the decline until Thursday night. Are you guys retarded? Did we not see over the last 5 years this guy fucking fall off a cliff? Everybody's been talking about this, okay? Everybody. And you're going to pretend because I don't know, because you have to, or because you have to for your brand or your boss. I don't know. But like, you're really going to sit here and tell me that you didn't see anybody on the right talking about his cognitive decline? You didn't see anybody on that's sort of apolitical talking about his cognitive decline? You didn't see any of the videos where this guy couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't talk, couldn't step, couldn't drive, couldn't bike, couldn't golf, couldn't use a phone, couldn't get off a helicopter, wandered around on the White House lawn. You didn't see any of the videos? I listened to Pod Save America, which is a super left-leaning podcast, guys who are Obama speechwriters. Talk about like an embarrassment. Getting rich just because you're associated, you're just like a barnacle basically on one of the most, social media savvy presidents of all time. You had no value and you're just a complete cuck and you run this, empire of podcasting. I hate these guys with a passion, but I listen to them because I want to hear what the other side thinks. These guys are even in panic mode saying that they got to look at replacing Biden. They love Biden. These guys worked with him, speechwriters for Obama, John Favreau and God, I can't remember the other cuck's name, but a couple pencil neck losers. Anyway, they did a podcast on Thursday night after the debate, Panic Mode, and they said something interesting. You remember last week, Karine Jean-Pierre, talk about bad timing. Karine Jean-Pierre, one of the least intelligent people on the face of the earth, ever to walk the earth, really, with a position of power and a microphone, said that all those videos of Biden at the Kimmel Obama event where he froze up at the end were edited and selectively sort of clipped. AI. Yeah, it wasn't AI, but she said it was a cheap fake. I don't think she knows what that means. She doesn't know what a lot of stuff she says means, which is typical for her. But she said it was a cheap fake. She means like taken out of context. Do you know what the Pod Save America guys said? They were there and they said the whole fucking thing was a disaster for Biden. So now you have somewhat of a complete picture, right? Over the last week, people have sat with this guy probably for the first time in 4 years. And instead of listening to Brian Stelter and Joe Scarborough and Mika, whatever her name is, his wife, and Caitlin Collins and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash and all these other fucking losers and weasels and state stenographers tell you to not believe your lying eyes, they got to sit with the guy for the first time in 4 years. Now these campaigning, guess what they fucking saw? The same thing that sensible people have been seeing since 2020. And now they're pretending they didn't know, or that we didn't know, or that it just started. The campaign putting out this talk during the debate, they released a statement. Joe Biden's got a cold. Joe Biden's got dementia, okay, is what he's got. He is in cognitive decline. And what they're doing to this guy is ridiculous. It's completely untenable that the nation with the most firepower, soft or hard, that the world has ever seen at a time where there's more tumult around the world than we've seen in a long time is being led by this guy is completely unacceptable. And it makes you wonder. People gave Trump a hard time for talking about the deep state or permanent Washington. But Len, who's running the country? It sure as shit ain't Joe. Who's doing it? It's these people behind the scenes. These guys are there for 30 years. It's the Fauci types. It's the, Blinken types. It's all these people who are like associated with these defense companies and government contractors and consulting firms. Like, these guys are running the country. Joe Biden is gone. He's gone. The people there
play it out. Play it out. What's going to happen now? I'm curious to hear your.
He's going to stay.
Right?
He's going to stay.
They think he's going to stay. So
they announced yesterday he's going to stay. So
he says that, but they have.
And now the media's done an about face. It was one bad night. Obama's out there saying it was one bad night. I don't know. The thing is now, no matter what he says, the next debate is going to be centered around how he looks. Everyone's going to be thinking about how he looks.
If he does run, it continues to run, which I think that's a more likely possibility than him not going. But let's just play this one out, and we'll play both scenarios out. If he does run, there is no way he's going to be able to win. He can't bring himself up to the point where he's going to.
He can't do anything besides a scripted appearance.
So the next two debates are going to be just disastrous, and in any sort of public appearance he has to do many leading up to the election are going to be disastrous. So they're going to be bad. So he's going to lose handily. So okay, that's one scenario that Biden and Harris they lose the next election. The other scenario is somehow they get rid of Biden and they replace him with insert person here.
Harris has to step down too. Otherwise, she gets it. It's not up to them. They can't just stick somebody else in there. She's got to go too.
So that's the second part. So if we go down this path, if Biden is first gone, I guess it would be the two names you hear most are Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So if that's
Whitmer,
the case,
maybe in Michigan, but yeah, it's a short list. It's a short list.
So if that's the case, if whoever comes in and replaces Biden, that is not, in my opinion, a democratic process. You're shitting on democracy because you'd have to have delegates vote in at the DNC who it is that's going to be voting, who's going to be leading the party and nominate somebody to do so. So you're essentially almost appointing somebody to come in and say, you're going to be here. But that's not democracy. That's, we make fun of that. And
don't forget, they had another candidate who's polling at like 10 or 11% nationally
RFK
on there, and they wouldn't let him primary Biden. So not only are they rugging at the DNC now, they had another guy who was getting support. They wouldn't play ball. A complete disaster. So from the party who's all about protecting the sanctity of democracy. Just they're so full of shit, these guys.
So Harris, the best scenario for her, I think, if Biden is to leave and she is going to be forced to step down, I don't know how this plays out, but putting her in the Supreme Court, you'd have to somehow entice one of the guys that were appointed by Obama or gals, I forget who it is, but one of the people that were appointed by Obama to retire much, much earlier than they would to vacate that and then have a seat available. And then Harris comes in, because by doing that, then at least Harris could continue. She has been in the legal background before and she could continue that. That could be her legacy. That's fine. But there's a lot of dominoes that have to fall in order for that to happen. Other than that, I don't know what could be done for her. It's not like you could just give her an ambassador position somewhere. She's the vice president of the United States.
Len, over under 0.5 rap videos Kamala Harris appears in for the rest of her life. I would say I'm taking the over on that.
I don't even have an idea. I can't even come up with. I'll say over just for hell of it, but I don't have an opinion.
She was Montel Williams' groupie, right, for a long time. Make of that what you will. I think she appears in at least one more music video before all said and done. She sure as shit can't do a speaking tour. What is to come, unburdened by what has been. I've seen that clip so many times. The 4 minutes of Harris. You can't. Once you see it, you just realize like this person is just completely empty shell.
And I'm probably in a minority here, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. If something happens to Biden between now and the election, she would be a far better leader of the United States than he would. Maybe I'm totally off my rocker here, but just if you compare them right now,
can you imagine though? Better. Like at least like Biden has like some legacy behind him. You could argue about whether it's good or bad, but the guy was the vice president, during a campaign that was hotly contested.
And he was the vice president for many years.
Yeah, he was vice president for the first black president. Okay, like that's. As much as I may disagree with the policies, that's an achievement. There's no other way to slice that. And, a lot of people couldn't do that in the way that he did. I think he balanced Obama. He was sort of famous for having a potty mouth. I still remember when they passed the Obamacare Act, he was up there in the hot mic and he's like, this is fucking huge. Good fucking job. Like that's okay with me. Like that's what a good politician does. That's how a good politician looks. But man, Harris, Len, can you imagine her with Putin? The things Putin would say about her in public, the things that, Le Pen.
Who would you want to
France.
have against, like, not get like in a discussion between?
If I wanted to win, at least
for the next 5 months, would you rather have Biden there behind closed doors dealing one-on-one with Putin, or Harris? So I'm just looking. I'm going with Harris.
Talk about pick your poison, eh? Like, there's not too many
I'm
tougher.
going with Harris. I don't care. I'm taking all the way. I'm going with Harris.
I don't know.
All the way.
Yeah. People, Boomer in the chat saying he takes the over on the rap videos too. I think she appears in at least one more. How could she not? Like I said, she can't do a speaking tour. She can't speak. So what's the plan? You know, like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on before I say something else. It's going to.
Well, Top W. Cone, remember I mentioned at the beginning of the show that he wrote in, he gave us an article, the Louisiana story. So here it is.
LBC.
Give him some credit. Yes, the LBC is alive and well. So Louisiana, Kentucky story. It's a councilwoman from that city. Her name is Tammy Hawkins. So this councilwoman has come forth with a plea to residents. Apparently people in Louisville, either way, I don't know. Anyways, they're out there and they're causing.
Come on, you don't know?
Louisville. Well, anyways, the Louisville Slugger, you're right. Anyways, causing some issues with the local Kroger. And because of the issues they're causing, the Kroger's closing early. And what is she asking for residents to do? To stop fucking stealing from over there. So they've been closing early as a way to deal with the theft. And normal closing hours is only 9 p.m., Joey. So you figure by 9 p.m., they figure that's too late and they have to close much earlier than that. Either way, this is their way around it. So she's out there. She's pleading for residents out there. Please stop fucking stealing, because this is causing issues for Kroger and probably other businesses as well. But that's how we're getting to a point. This is late stage fiat, man, when people are fucking stealing stuff because they probably need it, right? Let's be honest. I don't think they're doing this just out of sheer fun. A lot of people out there just fucking can't make ends meet.
They're doing it in a lot of cases because they know they can and there's no consequences. It's kind of a low trust issue. How long until we get the story that Louisiana is putting out public statements that Kroger is acting in a racist manner by closing up a store in their area? Over under a year, 6 months. I mean, I'm taking the under no matter what. It's not like there's precedent. There's precedent for this, right? We talked about this other times. Like, oh, it's racist to close a store.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to break it to you, but if you're stealing, you're stealing. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, and that's not good for business. We're not going to do business here.
Remember Chicago? They were going to be doing their own city-run grocery store as a way to fill in the gaps.
Yeah. How'd that go? How's that going so far? Do you know what? I have a story on this topic. The Walmart near my house, it's not really near my house, actually. It's like, 15 minutes away, but it's one of the nicer ones. In a well-to-do area, I would say every house there is at least 800, 900K, which is, I realize, not that much these days, but it's, no one there is poor. I'll tell you that.
If you're on the outside looking in, that's a fucking shitload of money.
Yeah. The self-checkout, Len, has basically a funnel to a gate that someone on staff has to open before you can leave with your cart. First time I've seen that. Fortino's here doesn't have that. Metro here doesn't have that, but like a place 15 minutes from me has it. So Walmart's either just outfitting all their stores with these things, or they're preparing based on some data they have that they think they're going to need this thing in the not too distant future. I mean, it could be both, I guess, but interesting. I'd never seen one of those before, and I walked right into it. My wife was like laughing at me. I just fucking crashed right into the thing. I figured this can't be it's just a swinging door. It's not. It's not automatic. It's run by someone who is working in the area. Data point. Signpost.
Another one. How much longer before they get rid of all these self checkouts? Just because I
don't know. It's too much. How many Indian immigrants can they hire at close to $0 an hour to work at the checkout? That's really the answer. You may not think that that's politically correct, but look around at every grocery store you go to. This is what you see. There's a problem in Canada and in the States too, where there's not enough people who are willing to work for low wages, I should say, because they're not necessarily low skill. We have no idea what kind of skill level they have, but we're pumping them into these jobs, and grocery stores love it because they'll work for 15 instead of 18 or whatever. Right. And so to get rid of stuff like self-checkouts, you need cheap labor to make up the difference. These things all work together.
They can run the numbers. If you're losing $1,000 a day, I mean, that's rather low in terms of theft, and you're only going to pay, say, $1,200 for the wages.
That's right.
And then it's more worth it to keep this. Yeah. But you can run the numbers.
But they're exactly right. It's very impersonal. And as long as there's still a flood of people who are willing to work for low wages, it's doable, I guess. If there's crime, they'll keep it up. It's funny, like people And you and I think do a decent job of like, towing the line as far as like political incorrectness here. But I mean, like you said, running the numbers is really all this is. It doesn't like, it has nothing to do with the color of people's skin or where they live, what their education level is. When it comes to what Kroger decides or what Walmart decides, they do not care. They don't care. They might fly a certain flag a certain month. They might support a certain race a certain month, but they don't actually give a shit. They're running the numbers. These people are very calculated and computing when it comes to what they do with their time and their staff and their ultimately their brand and their product. And if they think that they can sell it to you for a profit, they will. If they can't, they'll leave, and that's it. Period. End of story. And we've seen that in the past year or so. And I think, like like we always say, Len, what's it going to do? It's not going to slow down. It's going to accelerate.
Did you go to Mandarin today, by the way?
I didn't. I saw the picture in one of our chats. Why is there so many people there? Do people go to the Mandarin today? Is that a thing?
Joey, there's a video that is now posted on Twitter, and it shows the lineup of how long it is. It goes around a city block in Toronto. Like, this is, a city block in Toronto. This is fucking insanely long. The amount of people trying to get it, they must have waited like the night before. They must have lined up. But like I mentioned in that chat, how many people like are homeless and shit like that? They're just waiting to get food. Like, that's like, I'm not trying to make fun. I'm not trying to poke, but reality is, homeless people, where do they get their food? They're relying on food banks and
the
whatever
Mandarin.
they get.
Unreal.
Imagine when a Mandarin and all you could eat. That's got to be like the biggest score for somebody that has nothing. Yeah. And I would highly recommend anybody that is in that situation, spend the time if you can and fucking get in. Now, granted, the food may not be the best, but this is a score.
What a mess this country is. It just, politics aside, I don't think it's all Trudeau's fault. I don't think Poilievre can fix it. I'm not one of these people who's like hanging my hat on certain politicians, but Len, like we talked about this before. I won't go into the details of the conversation, but I think we both agree the country that you and I grew up in is gone now. It's gone, and it ain't coming back. It's just, how do you sort of prepare for what's coming here? Lines around the block for food at the Mandarin. Tents everywhere, drugs everywhere. Substance abuse everywhere, desperation everywhere. You got to find your tribe and you got to fucking build a community with those people, because ain't no one coming to save you from the top. That's for sure.
Well, Toronto St. Paul, they had their by-election this past week, and
they did.
It's the first time that a conservative was elected since 1988. And at that time, Brian Mulroney was reelected for his second term as Prime Minister in Canada. And this MP that won this time his name is Don Stewart. And it's not like he won by a huge margin. It was 2%. It was a very small margin of victory. So it could easily have went either way. And apparently overnight, that's when everything flipped. It was kind of exactly what happened with Biden in terms of him winning overnight. The Liberal candidate, Leslie Church, was in the lead. And sometime in the wee hours in the morning, she lost her lead and Don Stewart ended up winning the election. So going back, 1988 was the last time a conservative candidate won in that election, in that riding. The demographics has changed a lot since then, too.
Yeah.
This is a core Toronto riding. So to see this flip during a by-election, 43% turnout, which is pretty decent for a by-election. And they're saying that this is a huge signpost, as you call it, in terms of what's happening in Canadian politics, is if you could get a blue seat in downtown Toronto, that is a telling tale. So a lot of people are saying that Trudeau has to really look at what's going on here and maybe make some hard decisions moving forward. And yeah, like there's still a lot of time, 13, 14 months, maybe 15 months until the next election. So a lot could happen between now and then. So looking at this, what's transpired, this is a stunning victory, but 2%, clearly this could flip back to the Liberals. It's not like this is going to stay conservative. It could easily stay in go back to the Liberals party. One last thing I want to say, Leslie Church, do some background on her. Very interesting woman, especially her husband as well. And I'll leave it at that.
Worked for Freeland, right? Church worked for Freeland, I think.
And not just her, she worked for somebody else. Her husband was was a lobbyist for
she's a loyalist. She's a loyalist. She's a party loyalist. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
who do you expect to run?
Somebody from outside.
Yeah, but they're going to run somebody who they, trust, I think, is the softest way I could put it. And
right, but if you if you're going to replace somebody, Carolyn Bennett has been there for a long time, and it leaves a sour taste in the mouth when somebody from the outside comes in. And I think she won her nomination and everything. It's not like she was appointed, but still doing that, it looks rather. I've been around this. It looks rather bad, and we'll see if she's going to run again in that riding. If so, good luck. She has a really good chance of winning and flipping that seat back to the Liberals, but who knows?
The electoral map for Toronto, I was just looking for it, but I found something second best we can share. I didn't realize how much of a fortress that whole area is. And now in the middle of this, what I gather is a fairly high income area in Toronto. There's just this blue riding now. Like
one blue in all of Toronto.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like a crazy shift. I want to show
2011 it was not like that. It was a lot of blue. Still some red.
Okay.
But a lot of blue.
Okay, I want to show this video from Rebel.
Is this the one that's talking about
a volunteer outside the election? This is as good a video as you're going to see.
Make note of the individual that's just outside the campaign office.
Yeah, he's looking for the Mandarin.
Not standing up. He's on his back.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
Well, how do you feel about the Liberal loss last night of this riding?
I'm surprised. She was leading by 700, and then woke up this morning and it was about 590 for Stewart.
What do you think that is?
I think there was electoral interference by Melissa Lansman. She sent letters to the Jewish community to vote for Conservative.
Is that considered electoral interference?
I think she represents Thornhill, not Toronto.
What about Chrystia Freeland coming on the same day as polling?
Leslie Church worked for Chrystia Freeland.
Would that be considered election interference, though, if Chrystia Freeland came and gave a speech in the riding the same day as the election?
No, that's an endorsement.
He's right. That is an endorsement. You could have somebody come in, even a city politician.
Len, the whole thing. Like, it just, who gives a shit about any of this? Do you really care about this?
I enjoy it. I rather enjoy it, just like the debate in the United States. I'd rather enjoy it.
It's entertaining, but like,
sure.
Does it change anything?
No.
Me neither.
No,
it's just
what I do and how I live will not change regardless. I'm just going to, but this, I need, it occupies some of my time and I find it rather enjoyable. But this goes to show that in the past, there have been ridings, always, there's ridings in Canada for all parties. You could run like a fucking rock under
strongholds, and
it will win. This is one of those that probably you could have ran a rock under the Liberal banner and it went the other way. That is, in 2011, when the Liberals were decimated to like 35 seats, whatever that number is, it was their core ridings, that the hardcore Liberal ridings, they were elected members, and they were in Toronto and 416, in Vancouver and in Montreal. And this is one of the ones that held in 2011. That was their worst showing in history.
What do we say? I don't know.
But like I say, 2% is all that was the deciding factor here. It could easily go back to the Liberal Party. Easily. It's not going to take a heck of a lot to flip it.
I think the point is that, you're basically looking at like a huge sweep. Boomer in the chat. If you can't get the guy who was doing the interview, I'm sure you could get the guy who was sleeping on the show. Yeah,
I wonder if he's in line in Mandarin. You could find him there. Maybe both those individuals are in line in Mandarin.
Listen, you can head over to the Mandarin with the mics. I'm not going. I ain't going.
We should have. That would have been an awesome fucking segment. CBP at the Mandarin line to talk about Bitcoin.
There is actually a guy with a pregnant wife who's tenting on my bike ride to work, and I've considered at least once stopping to ask them some questions about like how they wound up in that situation.
Oh my!
But anyway,
could you imagine now giving birth and having a young one with no roof over your head?
It's impossible. Impossible. Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to make it do. That's really sad. Either way, I guess one last story we'll talk about is that the Canadian CPI numbers came in a little bit hotter than expected. And month over month, they went up 0.5%, sorry, 0.6%. The estimate was 0.3%. Remember, Canada raised their rates just the month earlier.
Cut their rates.
Sorry, cut their rates. My mistake. They cut their rates.
Probably should have raised.
After seeing this, they should have raised. You're right. But I'm wondering now if this is going to impact their decision moving forward, seeing that the inflation, at least over 1 month, it's a very small sample size here, but it went up nonetheless. I wonder if it's going to change their opinion and if they're going to be cutting any more for the next little while or just stand pat.
I think Tiff is in a bit of a bind, right? We've talked about this before. I think he's got to wait. I mean, if the data is real, which it's not, but if the data was real, Tiff would be saying to himself, is the consumer now weak enough and have we cut into the savings enough that we can cut rates again and get the shelter component of CPI down? Because the shelter component is what's killing them. If they can do that and they think they can do it, they'll cut again. If they don't think they can do that and they don't think the consumer is weak enough, they'll sit tight. But I don't think it changes directionally what they're going to do over the next 12 months. I think you're going to see 7-8 rate cuts. Part of me says they're going to cut anyways, Len, because they just don't care and they're going to sacrifice the loonie, as we've talked about before on this show. And Looney Hour says it, and Macro Voices says it, and Market Huddle. Every show I listen to says the same thing, that either the risk is expressed in the dollar or in the rates. And like if you keep on lowering the rates, well, guess what? The risk is going to come to the loonie. And I see a lot of people saying that the loonie is going to hit a new all-time low in the next 12 or 24 months, which would be something against the US dollar. So
we were in the high 50s in around 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
So
that's what everyone keeps saying. That's like a 13-cent drop where we are right now, give or take. No, 20 cent. We're about 72, 73. That's usually
so we're high 50s. So like that's 13%.
Oh, high. I thought you said 51.
No. We were 59, 58.
Okay,
it was high 50s. No.
Yeah. So it's not really that far. And with the right amount of political instability around the world, people moving to the dollar, maybe some dollar milkshake in there, I think. I don't know. I've said this on the show before. I made the case that since we don't produce anything in this country, we were really a country that relies on imports. And so we need our currency to be relatively strong. But the thing is, when the currency is strong, it causes other problems. So kind of in a jam, it's sort of the haves versus the have-nots, the old versus the young, it's not a good situation for the Bank of Canada to be in. I think I'd still put my money though, Len, on one more cut before the summer's out. What about you?
If I had to pick, I would say no cut.
No cut. Okay.
Yeah. If I had to pick, but I don't have a fucking clue.
Either that, or they could also make the case, like you see this all the time in the States. Powell always saying that he thinks data that goes against what he wants is a blip. And, Macklem has made that case as well. So let's see. I don't know. Let's get Macklem on the show. Is he available? Him or Carolyn Rogers, come on the show. We're happy to have you. If you come to Dundas, I'll buy you dinner and a beer. You can sit on the other yellow chair here.
Tiff has any aspirations to become a politician? I'm wondering.
I don't think so.
Do you think think about, would he make a decent minister of finance?
He's got no riz. He's not a good economist. We had a good minister of finance, and we opted to. There's a disagreement, I think, between him and Trudeau, and now we have Freeland, who's
riz,
different ideas. Riz, right. Charisma.
Paul Martin, did he have it? John Manley, did he have it?
Paul Martin had riz. He was the prime minister. Yeah, sure.
You tell me.
He won an election. He had enough riz.
John Manley, did he have it?
No, he didn't.
Flaherty, did he have it?
No. Flaherty probably has it after a few beers, like all Irishmen. But
who was there after Flaherty? Was it Oliver was the finance minister?
Was it? Oliver was the minister of natural resources for a while too, Joe Oliver. I don't know how you'd go between those two portfolios, but
hang on, because he Flaherty died, remember? And he died like while in office. Let's see if we could get the list of the Minister of Finance in Canada. Does it? Fuck it. I don't even have a fucking clue.
Who cares? Anyway, that's the end of the show. Go back to drinking your Coors Lights. Thanks for coming tonight. A little over 100 people. Appreciate you. Appreciate you on Twitter hanging in. I will be doing an interview this week with Professor.
Yeah, Joe Oliver was it? That's right.
Yeah, Joe Oliver. He was the Minister of Natural Resources too, which again, like having a hard time understanding the overlap in those portfolios.
They needed somebody there that after Flaherty was dead. And
hard rocks and hard money. Is that it? Who
else were they going to put in there?
I was available. You were available.
Polyev was available.
Pierre, yeah.
Right? They passed up on him.
True.
Passed up on a lot of people. But yeah, Joel Oliver.
I look forward to that. Carlo Campisi and Stefano Di Matteo coming, or Di Domenico, I should say, coming on the show Wednesday. 4:00 start on Wednesday, because I have football and Carlo has kids and Professor Steph has some stuff going on too. So we are going to rip on at 4:00 Wednesday afternoon, live and direct. Hope to see you guys there. I will be asking lots of questions about academia, some questions about Shake Pay, and we'll probably commiserate about Italian soccer too, because why the fuck not? So looking forward to that show Wednesday. Until then, everyone, take care of yourselves.
And don't be a cock.
God, that's great. Saved me like half.
Are you a fan of the old school NHL 94 game on the Genesis or SNES? Why not check out my show, the NHL 94 podcast? From tournaments and tactics to the people who make up this community. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts or find it on YouTube.